Hey everyone, welcome back. Oh my god, I have been trying to film this video for days. Actually, this was supposed to be a vlog, but of course, once you stop doing it, you can't go back into it. It's not like riding a horse or like riding a bike. It's like coming out of a coma and not remembering how to speak a language, basically. I have tried and tried and tried, and it just won't come out. Please send me prayers so I relearn how to vlog. So the reason I'm making this video is because one of you left me a great idea in the comment section, asking me basically what are my favorite places in the city and what I would recommend you to see if you were ever in Milan for a short period of time. Now, just to be clear, these are not my 5 favorite places in the city. These are 5 of my favorite places in the city, and I think that they are great options if you have maybe booked a weekend here. I think you can do all of these things in about 2 or 3 days. So let's start. So first place that I think you have to go, and this is something that not a lot of guides will tell you to see, is a museum, because we are in Europe. What is Europe without its museums? It is called the Pinacoteca AMBROSIANA. It is located steps away from the city center, so super accessible, easy to find. However, it does not have the same crowds and the same amount of people as the more known, more famous museums. So you know when you go to a big museum and you try to catch a glimpse of that masterpiece and you have to fight people off, elbow little children to get out of your way just for a little taste, and after 2 minutes you are pushed out of the room like a criminal. That doesn't happen here. Here you actually get to have an immersive, inspirational and inspiring experience in an ambience that will provide you with a much more intimate contact with the art that you're seeing. So you're not just running around like a crazy person in a maze. You are taking in and absorbing everything that you are surrounded by. Something else that always impresses me about the Pinacoteca is the actual building. So when you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look like much, but once you start making your way through the rooms and looking at the exhibition itself, you start seeing this change in environment, in architecture, in details, in floors, in ceilings, rails. If you are an architect or if you like architecture, it is such a rich experience from that point of view, and it really reflects what the artworks on the walls are trying to portray. So if we are in the Flemish room with all of the flowers and the very intense colors, a lot of contrast. The room is very dark and it actually has couches where you can sit down and appreciate the paintings around you. There is also a beautiful row of busts that they positioned in the outside part of the museum. So it is almost like garden sculptures, but that are basically rarities and treasures. That care and that consideration in the placement of the pieces and the construction of the rooms themselves is really great to see. And of course, the collection is so beautifully curated. You will find pieces from the most iconic artists from Italian art history like Leonardo da Vinci, Caravaggio, but those pieces will not be the ones that you feel like you have been seeing for your whole life. They are meaningful and they are powerful, but they are not generic and obvious. And other than paintings, basically a lot of Renaissance paintings, you will also find other periods of art history, other painters, other regions of the world, and other formats of art. So sculptures, like I said, objects, drawings, books. And speaking of books, The cherry on top is the library. It is the last room you will access before leaving. It is this dark, very moody. It could have been taken out of Harry Potter and just dumped here in the center of Milan. Over 1 million volumes are in this library, and you can see the care that they have, the way they catalog it, the way they store the books. And being in Milan, being in Italy, we actually have right here the original Codex Atlanticus by Leonardo da Vinci, where he has basically just drawn all of his most crazy, creative, out-of-the-box inventions. The codex itself is closed in a box for protection, but the museum was kind enough to scan a few pages and set them out in the library, so you can actually see Leonardo's drawings and writings. Honestly, if you have to visit one museum in your stay here, I would go to the Pinacoteca for sure, 100%. Another one of my choices is related to food, of course. It is a restaurant called AMICI MIEI. It is relatively close to the center, so it's not a hassle to get here. The only downside is that you need a reservation, but the positive points very much outweigh that negative little detail. If you are looking for classic, traditional, Northern Italian food, this is the place to come. Other than having the classics, wine, pasta, they will also have a seasonal menu, which is very common here in Italy. They like to cook with ingredients that are good at the time. When we went, we had the privilege of being able to eat zucchini flowers, which there they actually make stuffed with mozzarella, and it is just fried to golden perfection, and then it turns into this fluffy, pillowy, deliciously crunchy zucchini flour that is like nothing you've ever had in your life. If you're looking for the perfect primo piatto, so the first dish, go with the risotto al salto, which is basically a saffron risotto that is sauteed in butter until it becomes crispy and crunchy and delicious. It is one of the best things you will ever eat in your life, I promise. My husband got the tortellini soup, which is a classic. And then I got some pappardelle con brasato, which is basically a meat sauce that is cooked low and slow until it is very tender, very juicy, very amazing. So if you're in the mood for eating real food, for being in an environment that is very carefree, no worries, no frills, I think this place is perfect. Come with elasticated waistbands because you will need them. Third thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is a little bit finicky in terms of timetable. If you are ever in Milan by the end of the month, reserve your Sunday to go to the Mercatone dell'Antiquariato in the Naviglio region. It is an antiques market. It's huge, it's beautiful, by the water, so very scenic. This is where most of the antiques vendors come to sell their pieces outside of their stores. A lot come from outside of the city, so you get treasures that you will not find anywhere else. A little disclaimer, this is not a flea market, so the prices are not dirt cheap. You will be able to find a few bargains, of course, but you will be paying for higher quality items that still look great because they stood the test of time. But just to give you an idea, the day that I went, they had these big baskets filled with silk ties for €5 each. They were not designer, but still €5 for a silk tie. I think it's a pretty sweet deal. But they also had Ferragamo ties for €100. So it really depends on what the vendors have and what you are looking for. But if you're looking for specific pieces, they do have a lot of Limoges. They have designer furniture, designer handbags, works of art, antique books. Even if you're not planning on buying anything big, I think it is a great opportunity to get yourself a souvenir from Milan. So instead of getting the old fridge magnet that will look very passé in about 3 years, get yourself a beautiful set of cutlery or a vintage record. I think that is much more special, and if you're gifting something to someone, also much more personal. How nice would it be for someone to gift you some vines? Well, that is exactly what happened with Leonardo da Vinci when he was here in the city of Milan. He was invited here by the Duke of Milan, Lorenzo Sforza, to paint the Last Supper in the Santa Maria delle Grazie church. He worked really hard, and as we all know, Leonardo was a Renaissance man and he liked to dabble into very different things. So the Duke actually gave him some vines right across the street from the church so he could grow and produce his own wine. In the same location, the Duke also built for his most trusted allies, the ATELLANI family, a house that served as their residence, and it is there to this day to be visited. If you came to Milan and you couldn't get yourself a ticket to see the Last Supper because it is really hard, very limited space, the waiting line is enormous and infinite, go across the street, get yourself a little coffee, and come to see this place. It is beautiful. Again, Renaissance architecture. A lot of the original elements of the time are still there. And this is such a token for how Italians like to preserve their history and their heritage, because it seems like it was built yesterday. Something very interesting about the Casa ATELLANI is the fact that some people actually still live there. And if I'm not mistaken, some of the apartments are up for rent. So if you need to stay in Milan and you want something out of the ordinary, maybe get yourself an apartment there. Again, you guys know how much I love visiting houses here in the city. I always talk about the Villa Necchi Campiglio, which is one of my all-time favorites. And in fact, the architect from Villa Necchi was invited by the mayor of Milan in 1919 to redo and restructure a little bit of the Casa ATELLANI. So you can see that it is all kind of connected and there is this synergy, all meant to be, serendipity. It is just, Milan is so great. You guys, you cannot come here just for a weekend. Come here for more time, please. At least 5 days, okay? Promise? Anyway, getting out of track here. So you first go into the courtyard where you can see that there are still some apartments there, people living there. There is the occasional cat doing his stroll. Then you start walking around and you see a lot of the original structures of the house. You enter the first room and it is so beautiful. Again, if you are into architecture, interior design, art, this is a very precious, very special place. You look through the lower floor and then at the back of the house you will see there is a beautiful garden. And if you go to the extreme back of the garden, you will see Leonardo's vines. So these are the actual Da Vinci vines. Well, not the actual ones, I mean those died a long time ago, but they did call a scientist to do the analysis of the vines that are there right now, and they are in fact direct descendants from Leonardo's vines. So it is actually considered an archaeological site. It is closed off so you cannot access it or touch it, and unfortunately when I went, it was peak winter, so the vines were completely bare, but if you can plan your trip to Milan during the spring or the summer, you will see them in full bloom. Is it bloom? Fully grown? How do vines work? I don't know what the right terminology is, but you will see some little grapes there. And you can actually buy the wine, if I'm not mistaken. Put it on your wish list. Last place that I wanted to talk about is also food. I cannot contain myself. It is called Rovelo Di Chiotto, Rovelo 18 for English speakers. This place is the first more refined place that I was ever able to afford here in Milan. It is in the Michelin guide, not to be confused with Michelin stars, but being in the guide is already a great sign. This is a great tip. Whenever you're traveling, look for the Michelin guide of that place and you will never be disappointed. They too make very classic Italian cuisine, but again, in a more refined, sophisticated way. Like many other restaurants, this place also works with a seasonal menu, so expect to find really fresh and really creative dishes. The ambience is not too stiff, so you don't have to come in gala attire, but if you want to have a more special lunch or a more special dinner, this is a great place to consider. The day that I went, I started with a glass of wine because the wine list here is phenomenal. Then we ordered some acciughe col burro, which are anchovies with butter and bread, a very classic dish here as an entree. Then we started going a little bit on the heavier side because we ordered some beautifully delicious, crispy, juicy sausages with fried polenta. It was amazing. My friend had some cacio e pepe. It is a very hard dish to make right. And here you can see the creaminess of the dish is truly there. So you know that that was really well made pasta. The creaminess is not from cream. If you know, you know. And I got myself some pork belly with red cabbage because I needed a little salad, you know. And I decided that that was not enough, so I got myself some zabaione cream that they serve with crunchy, beautifully buttery cookies. And you can see me here enjoying that amazing dish with no shame. So yeah, I have to say, the combination was a bit too much fat for my stomach. Should probably have made some wiser choices in there, but I don't regret it for a second. Everything was delicious, worth it, worth it, worth it. If you're coming to Milan, you have to go there. So this is it, everyone. These are 5 of my favorite places here in the city. I'm probably going to do more though. I think there's so much to see here, so many hidden places that people don't really consider when they come to Italy. But now that I shared my favorite places from the city where I live, how about you? Leave me down in the comments below, where do you live and what place is maybe a hidden gem that you think we should know if we ever come to where you live. Thank you guys for watching. Wish me luck. I will try to vlog again. I have to vlog again. And we will see each other again next time. Bye!